Would you say that not being shy about asking for advice or not being afraid of looking stupid asking a question helped you in figuring all that out?
Very much so. And that was one of the compelling reasons that I wanted to get away from, big organization, where there's almost an unspoken rule that's said I must show up in the morning, um, and answer the phone calls and have all the, be that hero riding in on the white horse with all the right answers. And only when I went independent did I start embracing the power of saying, I don't know, or I've never heard of this before, or I'm not sure, or I need to double check. We just mentioned prior to going on air here, trust but verify, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll second guess myself any day, at any time. And unlike I actually have a family member who can't stand not knowing something or the perception of not knowing something, can't stand it. He just will avoid that at any cost. And, I think I'm the flip side of the coin. I celebrate it. I love an opportunity of not knowing something or not, in a moment's notice, knowing how to solve a particular problem or how it can be solved or if it can be solved. I love those challenges. I love those opportunities. So, I don't know, has been a huge, powerful part of my growing up, if you will. I'm not saying I've grown up, but but it's been a good thing.
On that same topic, I'm going to say that I had never heard of a DST until we met. And even today, I feel like I don't fully understand what a DST is. And my understanding is that you focus the majority of your business on placing funds into various DSTs. Can you shed some light on that? And am I right in saying that?
Yeah, no, that's actually not true. It is true in terms of as far as the context of our conversation has gone, because I think that's why we initially, if I remember right, that's why we initially were introduced. So I launched, sort of delved into that, and that's what I do. Not to take anything away from the fact that it is a significant part of my business, and I love it a lot because it's a real niche solution. And I'm going to back off of DSTs, Delaware Statutory Trust, because they are by their nature an accredited only investment. And an accredited only investment cannot be, and this is a technical term, they cannot be generally solicited. So I just can't freely talk about their structure or how they fit in particular situations, but to say that for people, and by people I mean accredited investors who are seeking solutions, tax favored solutions, by way of 1031 exchange in coming out of their properties. They no longer want to directly own a property, but want to take advantage of the tax law, what's available to them by way of tax deferral. Let's just say I have solutions that can fit in particular situations really, really well.
I'll give you my understanding of a DST, and you can blink twice if I'm right, or just tell me to stop if we're going off track.
Sure.
My understanding is if I own a commercial real estate asset, I sell that asset and I don't want to 1031 exchange it to another asset, either because I can't identify it or because I don't want to have that management or direct ownership risk in the future. I can take those funds and place them into a Delaware statutory trust. And that trust, whoever is administering that trust, will place those funds into various real estate projects, which will act as a 1031, but without your direct control over those assets. So if the deals go well, you're still collecting income, you still retain ownership, but you don't have that same headache you would have if you were directly controlling and owning commercial real estate.
No, that's good. I just blinked twice. Yeah, no, that's very good. I'll just jump to a little bit of word usage. You said that the DST or or the property or properties would act as a 1031. Really, they allow you to take advantage of 1031 because 1031, and I want to make that distinction for the listeners because 1031 is a process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can take advantage of, and by the way, I'm not giving legal nor tax advice, and there's my disclaimer there. But as I understand it, by way of a QI, a qualified third-party intermediary, or a facilitator, sometimes they're called. That process takes place where you relinquish a property, you sell a property or properties, and then you go into, you reinvest into replacement property or properties or DSTs. Okay, so DSTs will own and operate properties. They're generally not a tool that's sought in the event that something can't be found. Okay, I want to go to that for a second because in normal circumstances, as I've seen them, it isn't the case that someone says, "Oh my gosh, I'm in my 43rd day of my 45-day identification period," and we don't need to get into that. It's just a technicality with which we're familiar. It's a part of the rule, part of the code, 1031. Which requires that. So it's not someone who's sort of waking up in that 43rd day. I say that to go to the extreme and saying, wow, I couldn't find anything that I could own and operate myself. Nothing is fitting this space I'm seeking. Well, I'll just go the route of DSTs. Normally, again, as I've seen it, it's the case of someone who's done, and I call it the done factor. I know that doesn't sound very fancy, but they're just finished with that property or their properties for whatever the reasons. And that could be, they're getting a little older. Maybe they inherited the property and don't want to mess with it anymore. Maybe, in at least one instance, some folks were sitting on some money and they bought a bunch of properties during the Great Recession because they thought, well, maybe some of these rental houses couldn't go down much further than they have. And so they rode that back up, did really well, and then realized a decade later, gosh, we didn't want these rental houses in the first place. So
Good problem to have.
Yeah, right. We don't want them now, but what do we do? Because the good news is everything went the way they sort of anticipated or wanted. The bad news is everything sort of went the way they wanted. And they have this, tax monster on their hands. So, that's where these solutions can come in for accredited investors. And also, I'll just give honorable mention to opportunity zone funds. We hear about opportunity zones, and they apply to real estate as well for accredited investors. But also, it could be an art collection, or it could be a business. Anything that has pent up capital gains, meaning the gains themselves or recapture. We don't need to get into all those things, but if optimization of a back-end strategy is sought, then these instruments I make available.